in space-time, and that's a gravitational wave.
That should answer the question that was put forth. Now let's go on to Tom, who's on the line. Hello, Tom.
Oh, hello. Who's this?
This is Bill.
This is Tom. I'd like to address Mr. Tom Bearden.
Okay.
Pertaining to a Japanese invention, Ilko Company, I believe, invented this so-called motor. It's similar, I think, to the one Tom described previously. May I describe it?
Yes.
It's a stator, and in this stator is ferrite magnetic poles, ferrite magnets.
Right.
Now, on top of one of these poles is a timed electro pulse DC. Now, that's on the stator. I'm just a simple electrician, so anyway.
You're doing good. Go ahead.
Now,
you're absolutely correct.
Well, anyway, there's a single pole rotor, and this being pulsed, it sends the single pole rotor, say, in a clockwise rotation, and hits these it's repelled by the electromagnet, and the rotor is sent on its way, and say it's going clockwise. It's helped by these ferrite magnets to make a complete revolution, and then it's pulsed again and throws it again. Now, this has to be started by something on the externally started, and then this keeps on going. Now, the purpose of this is to conserve battery juice by this pulsing, and with the help of the ferrite magnets, you gain energy, and you save battery juice. And it's a battery motor, really, with very low consumption. Now, Ilko invented it, and I was wondering if Mr. Bearden heard of it. Any of you gentlemen heard of it?
I've not heard of it. Maybe John has.
Yes, I have.
Oh, thank God.
You have described a process which you yourself know, which could free yourself completely from oil.
From oil?
That's right.
Well,
if you utilize the poles in the
I see what you mean, yes. Sir.
Right, you already know what the true thing is.
Yeah.
So make it.
And we happen to have one that's almost exactly what you
almost
described
identical. Now change the situation into monopoles.
Yeah.
You see, you don't need a north and a south in a motor.
That's right.
That's put there for somebody's convenience to waste energy.
Oh, I see.
The critical thing is if you have a motor of any kind of design and the battery runs down, you don't have at that point what we're talking about. If the battery stays up there and charged up and the thing keeps running, and you can get a little bit of energy out of it, any amount at all that you can throw out of the system and burn up and use up and you're free to use, then you have the kind of thing we're talking about.
Oh, I see.
Which is, by the way, Tom, is very easily done with what he's describing.
Yeah, and I think that if I understood John right, what John is saying, I cut in on this program just a little bit after it started, so I missed part of that. But if I understand him right, what he's saying is he's going to put directions on how to build this thing on that tape so everybody will know how to build it.
That's right. And you know what? This gentleman right here, right now, knows the answer.
He's just got to make it.
He's close to it. So
just build it. I don't care whether you build it on an aluminum disc, on a piece of wood. It'll do the same thing.
Oh, is this John talking?
Yes.
That's John Bearden, yes.
Now, John, they have a multiple rotor where it augments the horsepower, flight power of the unit.
Sure, they're not going to put anything on the market that would contradict all the laws.
Yeah.
All right?
Well, originally that motor came out of the Wankel Laboratories in
Yes, it did.
It's similar to a Winkle, for God's sake.
Well,
That's
the very first one was done by E.V. Gray.
Oh, I see.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that particular motor was very efficient although each time the physicists and the scientists went to test it, the dynamometer was always broken. Okay?
Yes.
Now E.V. Gray sits there with a motor, and it goes nowhere.
Oh, I see.
Right. Ronald Reagan gave the man an award for that patent.
No kidding.
In conservation of energy. Yes, he did.
Gee.
And that motor, to this day, is still sitting on a back shelf somewhere.
Can you imagine that? And that's our solution to the auto engine.
Well, how would our scientists feel if all of a sudden one of these motors became very practical to me and you? What would they say? What excuse would they come up with?
Oh, boy.
It's a formidable question because for a while Hitachi was going to put that motor in the Mazda automobile.
That's right, 45 horsepower.
A little 45 horsepower motor. Now, it would gain energy going downhill, it would use a little going uphill, and you'd have to charge it about once a week.
But nothing compared to what an electric car would use.
That's right.
You know, there's an old saying that it would make cars cheaper, but the extension cord would cost a lot.
They just raised the price of the batteries to $2,000 each.
Yeah, I see.
But now you don't even need the extension cord. Okay, Tom.
Thanks a lot, gentlemen.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. You're certainly on it. Now make the motor. I'm Bill Jenkins. It's Open Mind.
Good. I'm wondering what consideration has been given to the economic structure of this country. There are so many corporations involved in energy production and energy use, of course, and so many jobs dependent on them. Could there conceivably be more jobs generated? And in this transition, if it could occur, it's of such great magnitude, how can we avoid chaos?
Well, very easy. We've got chaos right now, so we're going to get rid of the chaos.
True, but can you...
Whenever you consider, Marie, that most of the dollars that you spend right now are for energy, that's chaotic. I mean, you spend more money for energy than you do for food. You spend more money for energy than for taxes or anything else. And that's chaos in your own personal life.
Well, much of it has generated the great debt we have in this country.
Oh, the debt was created out of air, so I wouldn't really worry about that. We have a system over here where we let some private bankers create money out of the air and give us the great ability to pay them back with real wealth plus interest. So don't worry yourself about that. We'll get rid of that.
With inflated dollars.
Later. But as far as the economics of the country is concerned, one of the things that will right the economics of this country is for you to be able to keep the wealth that you have and spend it on real things rather than on energy. It's like somebody trying to charge you for the air you breathe. So the oil companies will have to change their marketing procedures. How
can they be involved in this?
What, the oil companies?
Yes.
Right now we're burning oil in order to get energy, and of course they're polluting the planet.
Right.
We should be using those oil products to make fertile lands, or arid lands fertile
Food
again.
And other products,
and
true.
There's things where there'll always be need for petroleum products. They'll have to change their marketing techniques. As far as, the biggest industry, I guess, in the country is the utilities. If you can make a free energy device for your home, you can certainly make a big one for the utilities. So they won't be polluting the air as they provide electricity. The transitional changes certainly will probably be a little tough on some people as we go into this new age of energy. But we have to remember that progress goes on. There was as we've talked about on the show before, Marie, there was a great industrialist whose efforts and the output of his corporation really caused America to be. Without him and his thing, well, no, it wasn't Ford.
No?
We wouldn't have had the West. But one day, Mr. Studebaker had to stop making wagons and start making cars. And so we're into that. We can't hang on to the old because there's a great economic structure built upon the old.
How can this be, though? How can we make this change?
Just put it on the market?
It doesn't.
Is it going to be on the market? How soon?
It's not a step input. For example, if you produced right now, for example, suppose you had available a real cheap motor. Let's say by cheap I mean something that would be $5,000.
Yeah.
That would power your home. Let's take that as a given. Let's say you could do that. $5,000 or $7,000 somewhere in there. Looks like about the kind of price that you could at least start delivering the first ones for. There are lots of people that are not going to be able to afford $7,000 cash. And it's going to take a long time